This video is sponsored by Cioppettini, software for services. Learn more about what Cioppettini can do for your business and sign up for a free trial at cioppettini.com. Hey everyone, I am Frank with Electric City Entertainment. Welcome to another installment of a Let's Read. We're changing things up. As you can see, we were doing them with just audio. Now I figure, hey, why don't we try it out with video? Another thing that we're trying out that's different from the previous ones, the other ones were kind of serious. We're changing things up today, and we're going to do a series of jokes, or a book about jokes for all occasions. It is a text from 1921, so we're going to see a couple of 100-year-old jokes, and we'll see how well they hold up to today's standards. If you are new to a Let's Read, it's kind of like a Let's Play with video gaming, except instead of playing a fun video game, we're hopefully reading a fun book, or at least hopefully it's fun, or interesting, or something that's worth content. We will see. If you like it, please like. If you like us, please subscribe. That really keeps us going. If you want to see more of these or have any suggestions, let us know in the comments below. But anyway, enough stalling. Let's get to it. This is, I believe, Jokes. If I can read the title. Jokes for all occasions. Regardless, any occasion, jokes for all occasions. Copyright 1921. I'm going to jump around a bit because I don't think all of them are going to be bangers. I hope any of them are bangers, but let's get started with actors. That seems appropriate. And we start with tragedian. The tragedian had just signed a contract to tour South Africa. He told a friend of it at the club. The friend shook his head dismally. The ostrich, he explained in a pitying tone, lays an egg weighing anywhere from 2 to 4 pounds. I have no idea if that was a joke. I don't know what the funny part is. Advertising. The editor of the local paper was unable to secure advertising from one of the businessmen in town, who asserted stoutly that he himself never reads ads, and didn't believe anyone else did. Will you advertise if I can convince you folks read the ads? The editor asked. If you can show me, was the sarcastic answer, but you can't. In the next issue of the paper, the editor ran a line of small type in an obscure corner. It read, "What is Jenkins going to do about it?" The businessman Jenkins hastened to seek out the editor the next day. He admitted that he was being pestered out of his wits by the curious. He agreed to stand by the editor's explanation in the forthcoming issue, and this was, Jenkins is going to advertise, of course. Having once advertised, Jenkins advertises still. I guess it's a quip. These are not, that almost seems like a Benjamin Franklin, this is a good turn daily, or some fun way of being. It's not really a ha-ha punchline smack you in the face kind of joke. We're going, affection. I almost skipped over that one. Affection. There are as many aspects of grief, that's not affection, as there are persons to mourn. A quality of pathetic and rather grisly humor is to be found in the incident of an English laborer whose little son died. This is on affection? Oh God, this is morbid. The vicar, which is a word I don't usually say, the vicar, on calling to condole with the parents, found the father pacing to and fro in the living room with the tiny body in his arms. This is on affection. I thought it was going to be like love. As the clergyman spoke phrases of sympathy, the father, with tears streaming down his cheeks, interrupted loudly. "Oh, sir, you don't know how I love that little faller." I guess that means feller. Faller. "Yus, sir. If it weren't agin the law, I'd keep him and have him stuffed, that I would." That is just morbid. He wants, oh my God. That is a joke. The joke is he would love to stuff his dead son. The topic was affection. God, that was interesting. Age. The woman confessed to her crony, "I'm growing old and I know it. Nowadays, the policeman never takes me by the arm when he escorts me through traffic." Okay. Alibi. The mother called in vain for her young son. Then she searched the ground floor, the first story, the second, and the attic, all in vain. Finally, she climbed to the trap door in the roof, pushed it open, and cried, "John Henry, are you out there?" An answer came clearly. "No, mother. Have you looked in the cellar?" Okay, that one's a good one. I could see that one. That one's a classic. Anatomy. Gotta do this. Gotta do anatomy. The little boy sent to the butcher shop delivered himself of his message in these words. "Ma says to send her another oxtail, please. And Ma says the last one was very nice. And Ma says she wants another off the same ox." Not bad. That one is a solid okay joke. That one's too long. Argument. Yes, ma'am, the old salt confided to the inquisitive lady. We don't call people old salt. We call people salty, which is weird, but we don't call them an old salt. But anyway, the old salt confided to the inquisitive lady. I fell over the side of the ship, and a shark came along and grabbed me by the leg. Merciful Providence, his hearer gasped. We don't use that either, his hearer. And what did you do? Let him have the leg, of course, ma'am. I never argue with sharks. Yeah, that's just bad. Let's do authors. We do writing and we talk about authors. A woman lion hunter entertained a dinner party of distinguished authors. These discoursed largely during the meal, and bored one another, and more especially their host, who was not literary. To wake himself up, he excused himself from the table with a vague murmur about opening a window, and went out into the hall. He found the footman sound asleep in a chair. He shook the fellow and exclaimed angrily, "Wake up! You've been listening at the keyhole!" Authors are boring, apparently. And they wrote the book. Let's see. Baldness. Let's see if we can offend as many people as possible. A patient complained to the doctor that his hair was coming out. "Won't you give me something to keep it in?" he begged. "Take this," the doctor said kindly, and he handed the patient a pillbox. That is a slight play on words. I was going to go with something for baldness, but that is a more something to keep it in, not his head. Baptists. I'm going to anger everyone in my state. We're in South Carolina, by the way. There's 1 or 2 Baptists here. Hopefully they have a sense of humor. Oh God, we're already I'm going to offend probably some other people after reading this first line. The old colored man left the Methodist Church and joined the Baptist. Soon after... Oh, I'm not going to read this. There's a lot of older African dialect, and I don't think I'm going to offend Baptists by reading this. I think I'm going to offend a lot of black people. If you want, I'm going to put a link to this book. If you want to read this, I'm not gonna read the rest, but I can already tell that there's a lot of apostrophes in this text in places apostrophes shouldn't be. So if you want to read this joke, go ahead. I'm not gonna say whether it's funny or not because I don't know. I'm skipping past it because we don't want a ridiculous comment section. Comment section, have at it. Baseball, hopefully not offensive to Baptists or people of color. I hope this would be terrible if we got one after the other. The teacher directed the class to write a brief account of a baseball game. All the pupils were busy during the allotted time, except one little boy who sat motionless and wrote never a word. I love that. Wrote never a word. The teacher gave him an additional 5 minutes, calling them off one by one. The 5th minute had almost elapsed when the youngster awoke to life and scrawled a sentence. It ran thus: "Rain, no game." That's smart. That's interesting. Battles. This is on battles, which is a topic that comes up all the time in casual conversation. Teacher, in which of his battles was King Gustavus Adolphus of Sweden slain? If you're a Civ fan, you know who that is. Pupil, I'm pretty sure it was the last one. Smart Alec, I will say. That's a lot about bears. Beer. I'll skip bears and go to beer. We like both. Beer is better. The father of a schoolboy in New York wrote to the boy's teacher a letter of complaint. Possibly he welcomed the advent of prohibition, possibly not. Anyhow, that is true. Prohibition-y times. Possibly not. Anyhow, the letter was as follows. Sir, will you please for the future give my boy some easier sums to do at nights? Once again, we're getting some off dialect. This is what he brought home to me 3 nights ago. If 4 gallons of beer were fill 30 to pint bottles, how many pint and half bottles will 9 gallons fill? Well, we tried and could make nothing of it at all, and my boy cried and said he wouldn't go back to school without doing it. So I had to go and buy a 9-gallon keg of beer, which I could ill afford to do, and then we went and borrowed a lot of wine and brandy bottles, besides a few we had by us. Well, we emptied the keg into the bottles, and there was 19, and my boy put down that as an answer. I don't know whether it is right or not, as we split some doing it. P.S. Let the next one be water, as I am not able to buy any more beer. Okay, that one's kind of funny. Oh, there's another one on beer. The new soda clerk was a mystery until he himself revealed his shameful past quite unconsciously by the question he put to the girl who had just asked for an egg shake. An egg shake. Can't get those anymore on the dollar menu at McDonald's. A good old egg shake. Light or dark? He asked mechanically. And I guess that is prohibition-y talk for I'm getting a beer. If you've ever been to Weird Story, there's an old bar/tavern in New York City that still sells classic beer in both flavors, light and dark. You go in, you ask for a beer, and you go, what do you want? Light, dark? Those are your options. They don't have names. I believe they make it themselves. My brother would know more about it. If you guys know who I'm talking about and are in New York City, shout it out in the comments. They were known for not allowing women in for many, many, many years until they were forced to by, I want to say Rudy Giuliani or someone else forced them to actually accept women. But anyway, that's a side note. On to beggars. Beggars. The cultured maid servant announced to her mistress, wife of the profiteer, "If you please, ma'am, there's a mendicant at the door." The mistress sniffed contemptuously. "Tell him there's nothing to mend." Okay. I don't get it. It went over my head. I'm not paying attention. Ooh, oh, that's betrothal. I thought it was brothel. I'm not going to do betrothal. If it was brothel, I would have done it. Bigamy. For those who don't know bigamy, Google it. Bigamy. What is the penalty for bigamy? 2 mothers-in-law. I like that. That is a classic. I'm going to remember that because that's a good one. The man was weak and naturally unlucky, and so he got married 3 times inside of a year. Well, if you don't know what bigamy is, you probably know by now. Got married 3 times inside of a year. He was convicted and sentenced for 4 years. He seemed greatly relieved. As the expiration of his term grew near, he wrote from the penitentiary to his lawyer with the plaintive query, "Will it be safe for me to come out?" We're in the dog pound. Birth. The little girl in the zoological park tossed bits of a bun to the stork, which gobbled them greedily and bobbed its head towards her for more. "What kind of bird is it, Mamma?" the child asked. The mother read the placard and answered that it was a stork. "Oh!" the little girl cried, and her eyes rounded. "Of course it recognized me." Ha ha. Funny. Let's see. Blind. A shopkeeper with no conscience put by his door a box with a slit in the cover and a label reading "For the blind." A month later the box disappeared. When someone inquired concerning it, the shopkeeper chuckled and pointed to the window. "I collected enough," he explained. "There's the new blind." Oh, you, very punny. And blindness. Separate from blind, these follow suit comically. The sympathetic and inquisitive, lots of people are inquisitive, old lady at the seashore was delighted and thrilled by an old sailor's narrative of how he was washed overboard during a gale and was only rescued after having sunk for the 3rd time. "And of course," she commented brightly, "after you sank the 3rd time, your whole past life passed before your eyes." "I presume as how it did, Mum," the sailor agreed, "but bein' as I had my eyes shut, I missed it." Okay, let's go. Breakfast brevity. Bribery. I like bribery. Let's go to bribery. A thriving baseball club is one of the features of a boys' organization connected with a prominent church. The team was recently challenged by a rival club. The pastor gave a special contribution of $5 to the captain with the direction that the money should be used to buy bats, balls, gloves, or anything else that might help win the game. On the day of the game, the pastor was somewhat surprised to observe nothing new in the club's paraphernalia. He called the captain to him. "I don't see any new bats or balls or gloves," he said. "We haven't anything like that," the captain admitted. "But I gave you $5 to buy them," the pastor exclaimed. "Well, you see," came the explanation, "you told us to spend it for bats or balls or gloves or anything that we thought might help win the game. So we gave it to the umpire." Very nice. Cards. I like cards. A Tennessee farmer went to town and bought a gallon jug of whiskey. He left it in the grocery store and tagged it with a 5 of hearts from the deck in his pocket, on which he wrote his name. When he returned 2 hours later, the jug was gone. He demanded an explanation from the grocer. "Simple enough," was the reply. "Jim Slocum came along with a 6 of hearts, and just knackerly took that there jug of yourn." That was a whole lot of southerny talk. And apparently a 6 of hearts beats a 5 of hearts when it comes to a jug of whiskey, a gallon jug of whiskey, which we need more of. Carelessness. The housemaid, tidying the stairs the morning after reception, found lying there one of the solid silver teaspoons. "My goodness gracious!" she exclaimed, as she received the piece of silver. Someone of the company had a hole in his pocket." Dumb, Cats. Oh, there's 3 on cats. Well, this is going to the internet, so I'm guessing you want me to talk about cats, if I know the internet. The internet probably likes cats. Clarence, aged 8, was a member of the Band of Mercy of his Sunday school, which was a miniature society for the prevention of cruelty to animals. The badge was a small star, and Clarence wore this with as much pride as ever a policeman had in his shield. He displayed eagerness in the work, and grew somewhat unpopular with the other boys and girls, by reason of his many rebukes for their harsh treatment of animals. But one morning his mother, on looking out the window, observed to her horror that the erstwhile virtuous... Great words we're learning here. We're learning something. Words you should probably never use. Erstwhile, virtuous Clarence had the family cat by the tail, and was swinging it to and fro with every evidence of glee. In fact, it had been wailing of the outraged beast that had caused the mother to look out. "Why, Clarence," she cried aghast, "what are you doing to that poor cat? Are you a member of the Band of Mercy?" Well, I don't know if that was a thing. I'm guessing that was a thing. The band, because it's capitalized. The Band of Mercy? Little Clarence released the cat, but he showed no shame as he explained. "I was, but I lost my star." Clarence, you're going to do terrible things when you grow up. Another one about cats. There's 3 about cats, so old people like cats. Not old people. People in the past also like cats. Because this got more jokes than most of the other topics. Cats gets 3. The teacher put a question to the class. What does a cat have that no other animal has? A number cried in unison, "Fur!" But an objector raised the point that bears and skunks have fur. One pupil raised an eager hand. "I know, teacher, whiskers." But another objector laughed scornfully. "Ha ha, my pa has whiskers." The suggestor of whiskers defended her idea by declaring, "My papa ain't got whiskers." "'Cause he can't," the objector sneered. "Ha ha, your pa ain't no good, my pa says." The teacher rapped for order and repeated her question. A little girl raised her hand, and the teacher's nod spoke timidly. "Kittens." I get that makes sense. No one else can have kittens. I thought this was going to be a mustache joke, but it turned into a kittens joke. A little girl returned from church deeply musing on the sermon, in which the preacher had declared that animals lacking souls could not go to heaven. I know a movie that begs otherwise about dogs and heaven. I won't tell y'all the name. As a result of her meditation, she presented a problem to the family at the dinner table when she asked earnestly, "If cats don't go to heaven, where do the angels get the where do the angels get the strings for their harps?" Those of you not in the know, a lot of times violin strings and other stringed instruments were made of catgut. This was another joke that was not supposed to be dark, that went in a little bit of a dark direction. Charity. Great stripper name. "Oh, Mama," questioned the child. "Who's that?" He pointed to a nun who was passing. "A sister of Charity," was the answer. "Which one?" the boy persisted. "Faith or Hope?" I don't get that one. I'm guessing those are... I don't know. I'm guessing those are names of charities, is my guess. Chicken stealing. That is the, when you guys are just like having a dinner party and topics come up and one of the topics is chicken stealing, it happens. But now you'll be ready because you'll have a joke. I like that my finger is not in focus because of my autofocus. But chicken stealing, now you'll be ready. The southern planter heard a commotion in his poultry house late at night. With shotgun in hand, he made his way to the door, flung it open, and curtly ordered, "Come out of there, you ornery thief!" There was a silence for a few seconds, except for the startled clucking of the fowls. Then a heavy bass voice boomed out of the darkness. "Please, Colonel, they ain't nobody here except..." Oh my God, except just us chickens, and I'm not gonna say it in the dialect. Let's just say it's in a southern dialect. We'll just leave it at that. Christianity. If this is going to be another religious one that turns into a racial one, we might be done. Christianity. A shipwrecked traveler was washed up on a small island. So far, so good. He was terrified at thoughts of cannibals, and oh no, I'm worried now, and explored with the utmost stealth. Discovering a thin wisp of smoke above the scrub, he crawled toward it fearfully, in apprehension that it might be the campfires of savages. But as he came close, a voice rang out sharply. "Why in the hell did you play that card?" The castaway, already on his knees, raised his hands in devout thanksgiving. "Thank God," he exclaimed brokenly, "they are Christians." Because apparently they must be Christians because they gamble. Christmas. A political boss wished to show his appreciation of the services of... nope, we're skipping that one as well. For reasons. Because I don't want to try. I don't want to risk it. Church. I'm going to skim it first. Nope, we're skipping church as well. If anyone wants to read these, read the link. I'm not going to... We've skipped many Christian and ones that should not be worrisome for good reason, hopefully. I'm not reading them, so I don't know if they are offensive, but from a brief skim and seeing apostrophes, I am assuming they're offensive enough where I'm not going to say them. But on compensation, we're moving on. Isaac and Moses. What? Okay, we've had several Christian and religious themed. Compensation starts with Isaac and Moses. I don't know. Maybe we'll get to compensation. Isaac and Moses dined in a restaurant that was new to them, and were pained seriously by the amount of the check. Moses began to expostulate in a loud voice, but Isaac hushed him in a whisper. "Shh, I have the spoons in my pocket." That has nothing... That's stealing and religious. I'm so confused. That has nothing to do with compensation. Let's go to conceit. That's a short one. Conceit. "I suppose I must admit that I do have my faults," the husband remarked in a tone that was far from humble. "Yes," the wife snapped, "and in your opinion your faults are better than other folks' virtues." That's kind of witty. Witty, not so much a joke. Conscience. The child had been greatly impressed by her first experience in Sunday school. Again, everybody's going to school, Sunday school and church. She pressed her hands to her breast and solemnly said to her sister, 2 years older, "When you hear something white here, it is conscience whispering to you." "No such thing," the sister jeered. "That's just wind on your tummy." Okay, that's a gurgling joke. Cookery. Anybody in a cook? Anybody cooks? Let's see. Cookery. The housewife gave the tramp a large piece... You don't see many tramps nowadays. The housewife gave the tramp a large piece of pie on condition that he should saw some wood. The tramp retired to the woodshed, but presently he reappeared at the back door of the house, with the piece of pie still intact, save for one mouthful bitten from the end. "Madam," he said respectfully to the wondering woman, "if it's all the same to you, I'll eat the wood and saw the pie." She's not good at making pies, is the joke. Courtesy. The witness was obviously a rustic and quite new to the ways of a courtroom, so the judge directed him. "Speak to the jury, sir, the men sitting behind you on the benches." The witness turned, bowed clumsily, and said, "Good morning, gentlemen." That's okay. Damages. The child came to his mother in tears. "Oh, Mamma," he confessed, "I broke a tile in the hearth." "Never mind, dear," the mother consoled. "But how did you ever come to do it?" "I was pounding it with father's watch." Oh, that's sad. Danger. One foot in the grave, the other slipping. Once again, more like a parable than a joke. I guess it's kind of a joke. It's like a short one-liner. Dedication. Why not? The visitor to the poet's wife expressed her surprise that the man of genius had failed to dedicate any one of his volumes to the said wife, whereupon said wife became flustered and declared tartly, "I never thought of that. As soon as you are gone, I'll look through all his books, and if that's so, I will never forgive him." Okay. I don't know if that's that funny. Definition. The schoolboy, after profound thought, wrote this definition of the word spine in his teacher's request. A spine is a long, limber bone. Your head sets on one end, and you set on the other. That's a little funny. Devil. Some wasps built their... Once again, weird start for a joke about devil. Some wasps built their nests during the week in a Scotch clergyman's best breeches. On the Sabbath, as he warmed up to his preaching, the wasps too warmed up, with the result that presently the minister was leaping about like a jack-in-the-box and slapping his lower anatomy with great vigor, to the amazement of the congregation. "Be calm, brethren," he shouted. The word of God is in my mouth, but the devil's in my breeches. It's a good joke about the devil in breeches. Diet. The young lady, who was something of a food faddist, was on a visit to a coast fishing village. She questioned her host as to the general diet of the natives, and was told that they subsisted almost entirely on fish. The girl protested, but fish is a brain food, and these... I'm skipping that, because, once again, we don't need to do the racist jokes, especially because they're not funny. At least that one was. I read a good chunk of that one. That one wasn't really funny. If you're going to be racist, at least be funny about it if you're going to do it. Don't be not funny and racist. That's the worst of both worlds. Doctors. I have to do this. And actually, there's more about doctors than cats. Take that, Internet. If they're good, I'll read them all. If they're not, we'll skip through them because I'm not going to make you guys suffer for my own amusement. A victim of chronic bronchitis called on a well-known physician to be examined. The doctor, after careful questioning, assured the patient that the ailment would respond readily to treatment. "You're so sure?" the sufferer inquired. "I suppose you must have had a great deal of experience with this disease." The physician smiled wisely and answered in a most confidential manner. "Why, my dear sir, I've had bronchitis myself for more than 15 years. Haha. Nope, we're skipping that. A member of the faculty in a London medical college was appointed an honorary physician to the king. He proudly wrote a notice on the blackboard in his classroom. Professor Jennings informs his students that he has been appointed honorary physician to His Majesty King George. It's back when we have King George. We have a king, and not the current king. Old. When he returned to the classroom in the afternoon, he found written below his notice this line: "God save the king." That one's kind of funny. I'm going to skip the one that starts the Chinaman, and we're going to go to the instructor in the medical college exhibited a diagram. "The subject here limps," he explained, "because one leg is shorter than the other." He addressed one of the students. "Now, Mr. Sneed, what would you do in such a case?" Young Sneed pondered earnestly and replied with conviction, "I fancy, sir, that I should limp too." I don't get it. Don't get that one. Over my head. Maybe because I'm not paying attention. The physician turned from the telephone to his wife. "I must hurry to Mrs. Jones' boy. He's sick." "Is it serious?" "Yes. I don't know what's the matter with him, but she has a book on what to do before the doctor comes, so I must hurry. Whatever it is, she mustn't do it." That still rings true today. Be careful Googling your symptoms. Very careful Googling your symptoms. Dogs. We did cats. We gotta do dogs. The tramp was sitting with his back to a hedge by the wayside, munching at some scraps wrapped in a newspaper. A lady out walking her pet Pomeranian strolled past. The little dog ran to the tramp and tried to muzzle the food. The tramp smiled expansively on the lady. "Shall I throw the little dog a bit, mum?" he asked. The lady was gratified by this appearance of kindly interest in her pet and murmured an assent. The tramp caught the dog by the nape of the neck and tossed it over the hedge, remarking, "And if he comes back, mum, I might throw him a bit more." Okay, that's a turn of phrase, a little bit of cruelty to dogs. Many a great man has been given credit as the originator of this cynical sentiment. The more I see of men, the more I respect dogs. I like that. I would put that on a pillow on my couch. I might sell that as a pillow on my couch. Look for it later. Let's do a short one. During the siege of Paris in the Franco-German War, which we all remember, the Franco-German War. I guess that might be World War I if this is the 1920s. No, wait, was World War I? World War I is probably still going on. I don't know dates. So, Franco-German War, whichever war that was, between the French and the Germans, probably. When everybody was starving, one aristocratic family had their pet dogs, it has to be after World War I, dogs served for dinner. The master of the house, when the meal was ended, surveyed the platter through tear-dimmed eyes and spoke sadly. "How Fido would have enjoyed these bones." That was super dark. That is now a super dark dogs one and a super dark cats one. They do not discriminate. That was rough. I'll do one more. There's a lot of dog ones. Some persons are born to have honor thrust upon them, and such is obviously the case of the actor named in this story. Nope, we're not doing that one. I don't think that one's that racist, but as soon as if I see the word colored, I'm skipping, just for everybody's sake. Sorry about that, we hit maximum recording time, hopefully this is recording now. Going back to where I stopped. Drama. The new play was a failure. After the first act, many left the theater. At the end of the second, most of the others started out. A cynical critic, as he rose from his aisle seat, raised a restraining hand. "Wait!" he commanded loudly. "Women and children first!" Ha 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 ha. This is on dreams. I should say the topic before I start the joke. Dreams. The group of dwellers at the seaside was discussing the subject of dreams and their significance. During a pause, one of the party turned to a little girl who sat listening intently and asked, "Do you believe that dreams come true?" "Of course they do," the child replied firmly. "Last night I dreamed that I went paddling, and I had." Okay. That's... Ha. Ha ha. One on drink. The highly inebriated individual halted before a solitary tree and regarded it as intently as he could, with the result that he saw two trees. His attempt to pass between these resulted in a near collision of the brain. He reeled back, but presented slightly carefully, and tried again, with the like result. When this happened a half-dozen times, the unhappy man lifted up his voice and wept. "Lost! Lost!" he sobbed. "Hopelessly lost in an impenetrable forest." Not great. One more about drinks. A farmer who indulged in sprees, which I'm guessing is binge drinking. I'm going to start using that. I wasn't binge drinking. I was on a spree. That sounds like it's got a manic aspect to it. Was observed in his Sunday clothes throwing 5 bushels of corn on the ear into a pen where he kept half a dozen hogs